Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. It's the new DJI Mini 4 Pro ultralight under 250 gram drone. This thing has just come out and I got the Fly More combo. It has the RC2 controller. Lots of upgrades on this thing. This is going to be the initial unbox and setup. So come along with me as we unbox this for the first time. Check it out and see what it's all about. I got a couple of accessories that DJI sent with this drone. Wide angle lens, so you can slap this on the camera, get a wider angle. Also got the ND filter set. So we've got an ND 16, 64, and 256. This is the Fly More combo, as I was mentioning. So it's got a lot of stuff. It's got 3 batteries. It's got the controller with a screen on it. It's got the bag, it's got a multi-charger, all that extra stuff that really makes it worthwhile to get a combo like this. You're saving money on getting the combo versus going ahead and buying everything separate. So if you have the cash to put down on the Fly More combo, this is the Fly More combo plus. I can already see that we've got a different design, it's got different specs, and it has the omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, which everybody was waiting for the mini series to have, right? So we're going to see how this thing does. If you haven't seen my DJI Air 3, go ahead and check that out. I'll have the card pop up here. It'll be in the description. And that thing didn't do so well in the tracking test. So I'm hoping that the Mini 4 does better. Now we're going to do the same kind of series I usually do on these guys' drones because they're so advanced. I just love seeing and pushing the limits on DJI drones. We're also going to be doing a flight test, checking out all the features in real-time flying, range test, see how far it can go. This has the new OcuSync technology in it, so I'm hoping it goes at least as far as the Air 3 and the Mavic 3, if not further, but we're going to check all that stuff out. So let's go ahead and start unboxing this thing. Like I said, I have not even opened this. This is all brand new to me. And I'd like you guys to see my first reaction, as usual, on just kind of what the thing looks like in depth out of the box. Because, you know, it is super exciting to see this thing open for the first time and what it's all about. So let's get into this thing right away. I'll have some of the specs pop up on the screen so you guys can see kind of the main specs and improvements on this thing. Just like other drones from DJI and the Fly More combos, check it out. Comes in a nice bag. This bag looks just like the Mini 3 bag. Doesn't look like they've changed anything. We've got a pocket in the front here. You can store manuals, some thin things in there. That's the thing I like about the Mini series is it's so small and compact. Look at my hands. I mean, I have kind of larger regular sized hands, but literally it's as big as a hand. There's the side there. It's a tiny little bag. So slap this thing over your shoulder and it's just going to be really easy to transport. But no pockets on the back or the sides. I really wish they would start including pockets on the sides of their mini drones, just like a mesh elastic pocket or something. It would be really helpful to just have something to shove something in there. Rubber zipper coating that keeps it kind of waterproof. And let's open this thing up for the first time, guys. Check it out. Here is really everything you get. Quick start guide right here. We have a screwdriver with a small Phillips end there. That's to change the propellers because the mini propellers are so small they don't really have a quick lock type of system as the other ones. So you see how they have to each screw on 1, 2, 3 sets of propellers. Bear with me, I like to just check out the accessories first. 2 feet of a USB-C to USB-C little cable here. Another USB cable in the box. USB-A large type to the USB-C. Same 2-foot length. Maybe even 1.5 feet. That doesn't even really look like 2 feet. That is all there is in that top pocket. Let's zip that back up and let's get to the good stuff. So here is the main bag. Looks like this is going to be our multi-charger. There's our RC2 controller. I just accidentally pressed the power button. It looks like it is, as normal, like 50 to 60% charged. Awesome. And here it is, guys. Woo! Exciting. Here is the Mini 4 Pro. Now, not just the Mini 4. Usually what DJI does is they come out with the Pro series first, and then they come out with the cheaper version. So my first time opening this up with you guys. Let's see what this thing is all about. Wow, very nice. My goodness. So they did change the design on the Mini 4 Pro, guys, and check it out. They have a built-in propeller lockdown. I really like to see stuff like this come in the box, and they're finally including it with the Mini 4 Pro to protect propellers when storing. I'm going to take this sticker off right now. Obviously, we know that. And underneath is hidden Mini 4 Pro, little writing there. Cool. See how this is holding in the top propellers. They're not going to get damaged or bent when they're in the case. And the same thing goes for the bottom. Everything is held in nice and tight. Charged to activate the intelligent flight battery. So there's a battery that's already on here. We'll take that sticker off. And let's take this thing, this protector off first. So kind of a translucent deal here. Hard plastic rubbery type of apparatus, so you're not going to be scratching or damaging anything. Definitely very glad that they included this finally in the box. At least with the Fly More combo. You may not get this with the regular one, but at least this comes with the Fly More combo. The Mini series, I think, was one of their most successful series with DJI, just because it's more affordable and it's just so small and compact, right? So let's see how we unfrail this thing. So just like the Mini 3, this can go either or. So you can open up the front or the back whenever you want. They don't have to go in consecutive order. Big old vents here on the back. I haven't seen them this big before, but those are gigantic vents. On the top, we have the DJI logo. And of course, we're not going to see any battery light up yet because we need to charge that battery first. They're going for a different kind of technique on this one than they did the Air 3. The Air 3 did have cameras on the back as well as the front and the bottom. But check out the Mini 4. It's got cameras facing back here. Remember the Mini 3? It also had cameras facing back, but there are smaller cameras. These look like they're the same kind of cameras as the front. And speaking of the front, let's go ahead and take this thing off and see how difficult it is to kind of get all this off. So this is the camera and gimbal guard. So very simple. We just kind of pull that off there. There's the camera and everything. Before we get into that, I just want to see how easy it is to put this thing on. Wow, much easier than any previous drone before. They're finally kind of figuring that all that stuff out. E24 f1.7. And remember, this does real-time portrait shooting as well as landscape. So we can have both of those. I'm just going to take all these stickers off of the camera. Just kind of being a little bit careful not to tweak it too much. This was just stuff for shipping. One more little gimbal holder. So this is actually a little piece of foam with a sticker on it that kind of held the gimbal in place to this foam insertion in the back. So we make sure we want to take all that stuff out. So very cool, very small camera. This thing is tiny. A couple heat sinks here on the top of the camera. You can see that we have our roll, tilt, and yaw axis on the camera. Venting that's all incorporated in the back of the camera. These cameras and gimbals are just getting so much smaller. It looks like they're using the same type of underside gimbal as the Mini 3 did. These arms I'm noticing are not very flexible. These are really stiff and rigid arms, a little more strong than the Mini 3 Pro. Remember the Mini 3, they would just break immediately, like whenever you hit something. I'm hoping this is going to be a little stronger, and we're going to be testing that out in our flight tests. Flipping this thing over to the bottom, and check it out, guys. So we have the laser sensors here. This is kind of like a ground sensing LiDAR. This basically will detect to the height of the ground, so you're not going to crash into it on the bottom. And then these actually will keep it locked on the ground. That's even better than the GPS locking. High intensity LED light there on the bottom. More venting here, which it looks like you can see the battery through. Hinges here, kind of where the arms bolt into. That's going to be your SD card slot. USB-C slot, so you can charge the battery on the device if you wanted to just plug in, and if you don't have the Fly More combo. Let's just pop this battery out, guys. So just kind of the same as other drones. There is the battery. Let's maybe just take a quick little peek inside. You can kind of see the guts of it, how it all looks. not really that much different, but this thing just got super light. And remember guys, this is the Plus version, so it should have higher capacity batteries than the stock comes with. So this may be putting it over 250 grams. So just keep that in mind when you buy the Plus batteries, which these all are. If there was one thing, it would be great if they could kind of put just a little battery checker on here. I know that would add a little bit of extra weight, especially if you're getting the Plus version batteries. It would be great if they could put that button on there because it's already over 250 grams anyway, but they're probably just going for the flight time. So any tiny bit of weight you add is going to take away from your flight time, right? These look pretty much the same as the other minis do. But that just goes to show how tiny these things are. You can see where the screws are in the top. So no quick taking these off. They're just so light and small. That's kind of how they have to make them. We do have the little orange wingtips on top, so that's going to protect it from hitting things at least a little bit or hurting the people that are flying it. Let's keep going with this thing, guys. We need to do a lot more here. Let's open up the multi-pack of the batteries real quick. Multi-charger. These are the Plus batteries with the higher capacity, longer flight time. This thing's supposed to fly for 45 minutes with these, which I think is just on par with the Mini 3. So you have a little bit of a heavier drone with more sensors and more power being used, and then you have the same flight time. So it's really going to be amazing to see once they come out with solid state batteries for drones, how much more flight time we have. I mean, if you think about the auto industry, once those solid state batteries come out, they're talking about like up to 1,000 miles. So imagine what it's going to do for the drone industry once we get that technology. All kind of sideways with the push buttons here. This one's going to go out. You can charge your controller coming off of this multi-charger. And then we have an input. This is where you're going to plug the other USB in. So I'm going to need to charge all these up first, guys, before I can even check them or use them or anything. Because you can see once I put them in, there is nothing going on here on the lights. Preferably just charge all of them fully charged. Get your controller fully charged, because the next step here is going to be the updating. We really want to have full power when we do updating, because DJI is known for their extensive updating when you first get their product. Moving on here, trying to go a little quicker, guys. Here is the controller. So remember, this is the DJI RC2, same as their Air 3 controller with the sticks over here on the back. You're just going to screw them in. I'm not seeing any extra sticks in here. They stopped putting extra sticks in the Flymore combo, and these are really easy to lose, so it definitely would be cool to just have the extra pair in there. I'm not sure why they took that away, but as usual, a company just trying to save a buck, right? Here's your antennas, just like the RC2. Remember, this is the same one that came with the Air 3. And then there is your power. All DJI products, remember, they have a press, let go, press and hold, and that will turn all their devices on. You can hear a fan kick on in there. The usual flight modes: sport, normal, and cinematic, faster or slower flying. Return to home and our pause button. So just like their other controllers with screens. Record and picture buttons, a little speaker port there. And here's our antennas. So it's going to work in conjunction with this antenna and these two antennas for our control and our video links there. We've got two rollers. These don't go very far. They're just going a little bit and popping back. That's going to be for our gimbal and our zooming type of functions. On the back, that's where our controller sticks were just nestling in right there. And then we have a C1 and a C2 button. Assign these in the software to whatever you want. We've got a speaker here on the bottom and or port, heat sink here. Always cool to have little screw ports here, little nuts built in, so we can do our lanyard and mount this thing on like a tripod or something if you really wanted to. TFT or micro SD card for expanding the storage and recording. These have built-in screen recording. Then you have a USB Type-C slot where you're going to charge this thing up. And that really is it for the controller, guys. Let's put this on the side and check out these other two things. Remember, we got the ND filter set and that wide-angle lens that I haven't seen yet for the mini series. So this will be kind of cool. Let's open these up and see what they're all about. So they all come in a really nice little case. Just beautiful little ND filters. Check that out. You can kind of see that little rainbow color on them when I move them around in the sun. ND16, 64 to 256. If you guys are filming experts or you're trying to be less sunny to more sunny, or for different types of camera effects, right? Bust out the next one, which is, remember, the wide angle lens, which I haven't seen yet for the mini series. I'm not sure if I just haven't had one yet, or maybe this is the first time they're making it, but look at this tiny thing. Talk about a beautiful little lens, right? And this packaging is really going to protect it for you. We're going to grip that camera, and what we need to do is take off this little guard. So this isn't really doing anything except maybe a sun hood and a guard, because there's actually no glass in this portion of it. It's just completely clear. To take off, you turn to the left just a little bit. You're going to feel a notch pull off the old one. And to put on, and this is going to be the same for all the ND filters and everything too. But of course, if you have banana hands like mine, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So just tilt it a little bit counterclockwise till you feel the notches go in, and then just push to the right, and you're going to hear a click, feel a click. And there's that wide angle lens on there. This is going to be really cool to see how the effect is on this. I'm going to use the ND16 right here. Same thing, twist and lock. They come with very good cases, so they're going to protect it really good unless you drop it, just like I did. But there you go. Just push them right in, and very, very good little cases to protect your investment. So guys, what else do we need to do? Well, we need to charge our controller fully. We need to charge at least one of these batteries fully, because we're not sure if we're going to have updates yet. So this will charge very slow, and it'll take a long time unless you have a higher wattage charger. Just plugging that into your phone charger if you have a high output charger. What I still want to do is compare this to the Mini 3 Pro, the old generation. So hang in there, we're moving along, but I just really want to go into detail on what this stuff is all about. Just touching base real quick. I think this is an 80-watt charger from my phone. I still can't believe that you cannot charge, at least slowly, your controller on the initial charge of your batteries. Would really like to see them kind of upgrade their circuitry in here just to let a little bit of power go to the controller. I'm not sure why really they have not done that yet. So a little bit of a con there. If you do have all these plugged in, you're going to have to wait till they all charge up until it starts charging your controller. That kind of defeats the purpose of why they have an alternate output here with this cable, because, you know, that would be great if you can just charge your controller all at the same time through the whole system. Just a quick little nitpick, but, you know, always like to see improvements no matter what they are in these kind of high-tech products. All right, guys, so as I have the multi-charger and the controller for the Mini 4 Pro charging, I wanted to bust into my Mini 3 Pro and show you the differences. The bag is exactly the same. If you notice the Mini 3 Pro, the sensors were way different in the front. It's almost like they were using ground sensors for the front eyes here, and also ground sensors for the back. So a huge improvement on the sensors. These are actual like 180-degree lens cameras on the Mini 4 Pro, kind of like what the Air 3 has. This thing could not do any front tracking and follow you from the front. It would also always stop and turn around and start following you from the back. So this is supposed to have omnidirectional. This was not omnidirectional. Check out the differences in the vent. This vent on the 4 is way bigger than the 3 vents. This button's a little bit bigger. Of course, the sensors we already mentioned are way different. If anything, this one actually, the 4 feels a little bit lighter, which is weird. It looks like we have more clearance on the Mini 4 than the Mini 3 as far as the whole gimbal compartment. So they opened this up a little bit, made it a little bit higher for, I guess, more air cooling flow. A little bit of a different front design to accommodate those 180-degree sensors. The cameras look pretty much exactly the same, and they do have the same actual writing on them. On the bottom, we have quite a bit more technology here. So the same ground sensing cameras. The Mini 4 has an LED high-powered light. The Mini 3 did not. A little bit different venting on the bottom. It's got the better kind of LiDAR ground sensing technology laser on the Mini 4 than it did on the Mini 3. Now we have lighting on the Mini 4 on the back only. No rear lighting on the Mini 3. Mini 3 had its lights only on the front, and the Mini 4 has no lights on the front, but it looks like they chose to give it a leg that had a better antenna for better signal. These are like mini stick panel antennas, so they're just radiating the signal all the way out forward and back. And that's going to give us a much better connection, which we're going to find out in our range test, that's for sure. The propellers do look exactly the same. The motors also look exactly the same, so no difference. Guess what? They're the same exact extended battery. So no difference whatsoever here. Even the labeling is exactly the same. 3850 mAh. The total voltage on both is 8.5 volts. So a little bit disappointing that they didn't upgrade the battery on the Mini 4. So the good thing about that is at least you're going to be able to, if you do have a Mini 3 and you want to use the batteries for the Mini 4, they will work. Okay guys, so let's get this bad boy powered up. It seemed like about 2 hours on that 80-watt charger I was using from my cell phone to charge these up. So anyway, let's power this thing on for the first time. Click and hold on the controller. Click once, let go, click and hold, and let's see what that thing does back there in the background. Let's see that gimbal kind of come up there. And it's just basically initializing. When it is connected, we should see that green light right there, and the controller just popped up. Cool. So for this part, I'm going to try not to spend too much time on the controller setup, because this is kind of redundant for every time you get a new DJI craft and you're just setting it up. So I'm going to go quickly through this. It's just kind of self-explanatory. Connect to your Wi-Fi internet at home. This needs to connect to Wi-Fi to kind of register it, and also if you wanted to download the maps we're going to be flying. And just going through the basic menus, make sure time is correct. This is where you're going to need to log into your DJI account. If you don't have one, you need to set one up. All right guys, so once you're kind of logged in or activated on your account, just hit activate. And let's get started with the guide. So you can go ahead and swipe this whole guide. It kind of tells you everything we talked about on the controller, what all the buttons do, what the lights mean, how to face the controller towards your craft when you're flying. And let's go ahead and start the application and see what we get. And there we go. Introductory video, which you can skip up here if it lets me. There we go. In order for the craft to work good, you kind of have to have all these things on. Product improvement program. If you want to, you can join this. Activate the craft. I'm going to agree to activate it on my account. Activation successful, done. And DJI Carry Fresh. So basically, if you guys didn't know about this, it is a membership you can get through DJI, which allows you 2 replacements, free 2-way shipping, water damage coverage, and flyaway coverage. You might just want to go ahead and invest in it if this is your first expensive drone and you're kind of worried about crashing it. Anyway, I'm going to skip it because I know how to fly usually a craft. Confirming it. We do have a firmware update, so that's awesome. So I'm going to hit update here, and we're just going to kind of go through this process real quick with you and kind of show you this whole thing on what happened. So as you can see, it is downloading the firmware. All right, so just kind of tuning in again. The aircraft reboot on its own. You can see how we're 80% done on the update. So this is where it's just patience is a real virtue when you're first starting this thing. Just let it go through everything it has to go through. Don't stop it. Don't pick up the drone. Don't turn off and on things. Just let the thing go until you get a check mark. The check mark says to restart the aircraft. So it looks like it updated successfully and it just shut the whole thing off. So we're going to turn this thing back on and just kind of wait for it. As you can see, there is red on the controller up there. That means it is not connected. Of course, it's going to be red when it's off, and it just turned green. So we know now it's connected to the craft. X here, a little bit of tutorial on what all of these kind of buttons mean. And there we go. So we're in the main screen of the DJI Fly app. If you have a cell phone with the other controller, you're going to have to download that DJI Fly app, but it's built in, obviously, to the RC2 controller. If that's important to you, you still have 48 hours after you activate your aircraft to get that DJI Carry Fresh. So let's just click on Go Fly here. And there we go. So we immediately get into our user UI interface, and all that's showing us is what the camera is showing on the craft. I'm not going to spend an entirely long time on this because I do this every time there's a new DJI craft, and it's kind of redundant because they really don't change much in each generation as far as the software goes. The only thing I'm seeing different than the Air 3, which I just did, is this portrait mode. So you can see if I'm pushing this portrait mode button, watch the camera. You see how it turns into a real portrait camera. So at least that's kind of what's a little bit different on this one. So guys, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the screen, but I do just want to go through it quickly. So what mode you're in, we have our percentage on the craft, our flight time. We have RC linked to the controller, what our sensor status is, what our GPS satellites are. We have an options button there. We have our mode, either camera or video. We have our shutter button, media button here, which will take us into the photos and videos we've taken. As you already saw, we have our portrait mode. We can click right here to go back and forth. We have a zoom. Cool. So check that out. So it's zooming in. If I tap it, it's going from 1 to 2. Autofocus or manual focus. We've got auto or pro camera settings. So you can really adjust this thing pretty in depth. And then it's showing us the storage. I have 293 MPEG pictures I can take. I do not have a card in here, so it has built-in storage right now. So let's see what the storage is. It's got 2 gigabytes of built-in storage, guys. So if you forget to put a card in, at least you have 2 gigabytes, and that's good for 293 pictures. Or let's hit the video button, and let's switch to video. And let's see how much video that can take. So that's only good for 3 minutes and 30 seconds of 4K 30 video on the internal storage. So you're really going to want to put somewhere probably between a 32 and a 64 gigabyte card in there. Okay. Moving over to the left, we have our distance and height and our speeds up and down and horizontally. Then over here we have our map, just the basic map and compass. So you can just click on these things. If you click on the map here, you can go ahead and have the Google Streets, or obviously you can change if you want to have satellite. I always love to have the satellite on when I'm doing my flights, just so you can see the foliage and of course all that stuff. Find my drone button there. If you click on it and your drone is lost, it will take you and direct you to the last known position of your drone, and then you can flash and beep. So you hear that? The drone is actually making that sound there. If you still have battery power left, you can go ahead and activate that if you're looking for your drone in a tree or something. So that was the maps. If I click on this little right icon on the maps, it takes me to the compass. And the compass is great because it shows which direction you're facing, which direction the craft is facing, and it also shows you the horizon line, so you can tell if you're getting hit by some wind or which angle your craft is at. So a lot of good information here. If you wanted to minimize this whole thing, you can do that, and it's way down in the corner. You have your launch button, auto launch, where you just press and hold. Of course, I'm right here on the table, so I don't want to do that, but you just press and hold it, and then it will auto launch up to about 3 or 4 feet. And then the cool thing that DJI brought back was the planned waypoint flight. So just clicking through here, you can see how you can adjust what you want each waypoint to do. It's pretty cool. So lots of stuff you can do with the waypoints, which we're going to touch base on definitely a lot more in our flight test. What I'm noticing, guys, is there's no fan on this thing. So this will be interesting to see if it overheats. You see this up at the top left corner? It says eco. That just popped up. So I think it knows it's kind of overheating a little bit. So eco mode available, enabled, photo and video mode and playback still available. Take off as soon as possible. Apparently that's something they did to prevent it from overheating when it's just sitting on the table, okay? The eco mode actually shut off the gimbal. So this roller up here on the top left, I can't even roll the camera. It basically locked the gimbal. I can zoom though. If you check this out, I'm just going to point the camera somewhere else. And this top roller up here, I'm going to go ahead and roll it to the right. And there's our zoom. So this thing has up to a 3 times zoom, which is cool. When you start going into 3 times, it's quite a bit blurry. But at least we do have some zoom on this Mini 4 Pro. Actually, it shut off all the satellites too. If you look at that, there's 0 satellites. So what it's doing is it's overheating a little bit and it's shutting down certain components of the craft so it doesn't have to shut off because of thermal overheat. So great feature, but like I said, I have 0 satellites. So you're going to want to take off kind of immediately once you turn this thing on if it's really hot. So when you're up in the air, it'll start cooling the craft. Oh, wow, that's interesting. So I just tried to click on the option button up there. And when eco mode is enabled, it's not letting me go into the menu. So I'm going to disable it. Let's see, once I disable, if it will shut down. Now I can move that gimbal. I'm just rolling the left roller and see how that camera is going up and down. So I do have that ability, but eco mode is off and it's probably going to overheat now. So let's go into the options real quick. All of the same basic options, what you want it to do with that obstacle avoidance, brake or bypass the obstacle, bypassing options, normal or nifty. One's going to be smoother filming or a little bit more jittery filming. All of these options, return to home, I just leave it on optimal. I want to go to control tab up here and I want to click on imperial. So that's the way you can change the units, right? So I just want to do that real fast so that now we can have feet, miles, inches, all that stuff. So it's defaulting pretty high on the return to home. That's if the craft does lose connection or you press return to home. It's going to go up to this value first. And 328 is too dang high, so I usually like to just go a little bit over 100. Max altitude, your max distance, it's already set at no limit. That's interesting. I usually have to set it to no limit on my range test, but for some reason it's already there. Anyway, guys, I think that's kind of all I want to show you real quick, just like going through the menus. That was control. You can change your modes. If you like to control your craft in a different fashion, you can change what the joysticks do. You have all these crazy camera settings. Transmission, I just leave all this stuff at auto. This is the link transmission between the controller and the craft. I have never had any problems with auto because it chooses the correct frequency for how bad the interference is. But you can change that manually if you want. Then we have our about. So I'm going to check for an update over here. It just kind of tells you your firmware and, you know, serial number of your craft and all that stuff. Check it out. Once I got back into the interface here, the flying interface, it went back into eco mode. So at least that's good. It knew that I was out of the options. It didn't need to, I guess, access all of the hardware on the craft to enable or disable or show you what was active and what wasn't. So they have definitely upgraded that since the other minis, because I remember from the Mini 1 to the Mini 3, this thing would just shut down when it overheated too much on the table. That's one thing you're going to have to do with the RC2 is if you want to fly in an area and you're not going to have connection in the field or you don't want to tether to your cell phone, you're going to want to have to go into your maps here, put on whatever you want, and then you're going to want to scroll way out and scroll all around where you're going to be flying. And that will cache that area in the controller. And so when you turn it on in that area, you do have your maps. Because if you don't do that and you have no data connection in the field, you won't have any maps. If you can link it to a Wi-Fi hotspot on your phone, no problem. You won't have this issue. So guys, the very last thing I want to go into, I didn't really touch base on this, is the shooting modes. Quick shots, hyperlapse, panoramic shots, master shots, video and photo. And then in each thing, like we're in photo right now, we have a single shot, AEB, we can do timed shot and burst in photo. If we click on video, that kind of changes this whole side menu here to normal, night mode, and we have a slow motion mode. So at least it's giving us all of the advanced features of all of those kind of tracking quick shot, master shot modes that the more advanced drones are getting. Make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe, because when I do my series on these drones, I really put them through the paces. After this video, we're going to be doing the full-on flight test, testing each feature, seeing how they've improved, seeing if it's any better. Then I like to do a range test where I just see how the heck far this thing can fly out, if we still have good video, good control, and if we can make it back to our launch point, of course. That's always exciting. And then I like to do tracking tests. Now the tracking has shown to be kind of hit or miss in my environment here in the woods. So this will be interesting to see, because the Air 3 and actually my Mavic 3 Pro both crashed in the same tree when I was tracking from the front and I was turning that left-hand corner. So if you guys are subscribers to my channel and you watch these videos, you will know what I'm talking about. But if not, stay tuned for that tracking test, because that is really going to show us if they've taken out a lot of the issues with tracking. Small drones like this are super appealing to me. Them packing it with more and more technology is super appealing as well. So stay tuned, guys, because we're going to see really everything this thing can do. And you know my channel, I really show how things really work. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. You're going to see how this thing works in real life. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for the initial unboxing setup. Did a little bit of updating. That was a real quick update, so I'm not sure what that was, but the updates after that will be definitely telling us what's going on. This is just came out, and don't forget to subscribe, and also check down in the description of where you can get the Mini 4 Pro. I also have my mini series pop up here. Also be down in the description if you want to see any other videos, and make sure you stay tuned for that series I'm doing on this, because that's going to be interesting. Anyway, see you in the next one, and thanks for watching.